What is up, everyone? Happy Friday. Happy Good Friday to you and everybody here on tonight's show. I do appreciate you stopping in to come and hang out with us tonight. We have a very, very cool guest. I'm excited about it. But first, guys, look what I got today. It's a little big. I bought a bigger size. But if you go to the description, you go to the link below, Etsy, I have started to upload my photography and creating new designs. This is one of them. Go check it out if you're interested in anything I'm purchasing and supporting sporting the team, whatever you want to call it, or just you love the hoodies. Actually, this hoodie, guys, I'm so impressed. It is super thick and super soft. I was really impressed with the quality, so I'm really excited about it. So just go ahead and the people I partnered with for this merch. I don't know if I should call it merch. It doesn't say Unveil on it. For these designs, you can go purchase on Etsy. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome. So, guys, like I said, I have a very, very, very cool guest tonight. I am so excited. He is such a sweetheart and such a talented person. I can't say enough good things about him. So without further ado, everybody, I'd like to introduce Joe Meeks.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome. I am so excited to have you here. Are you excited?
I am. Great. Yeah.
Yep. Hello, Scarlett. Welcome. So we're going to pop in comments, as you see, and I can pop in the comments down there. So as always, everybody, I have a guest on the show. I do open it up to Q&A. So if you do have questions, go ahead and let me know. Throw it in the comment section. I will pop it over just like this, and we will get your questions answered for Joe. So welcome. All right. I'm so stoked. This is going to be really fun. Okay. So, Joe.
Yes.
To get started, how about we just have you introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how, in a way, you relate to the paranormal.
Okay. I'm Joe. I've always been a really spiritual person, and ever since I was a kid, I was really kind of interested in folklore and mythology and religion and spirituality and the paranormal and supernatural and all that. And I had a lot of really weird psychic experiences as a kid that kind of led me down a very specific path. I was a very devout child. I grew up going to Grable Missionary Church. I don't know if you know where that is.
No.
And I was very content with being just a spiritual Christian person. And I actually wanted to be a reverend or a pastor when I grew up. But around the time puberty hit, I kind of found myself being really drawn to paganism and witchcraft, and it just kind of just a sharp left turn. And all those experiences I had as a small child, and then this blossoming not new, because I'd always been fascinated by witches. Witches were always something that I aligned with.
Yeah.
But I just found myself going down this very particular new path, around my teenage years, and just sort of my life has gradually gotten more and more of that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really cool about, you kind of figured out things pretty young when it sounds like.
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't do that. It takes a lot of time, but you naturally were able to get drawn into, many different things, which we shared in the banner I had pulled up earlier on so many. We talked about titles, things that you relate to.
Yeah.
Being a medium, shamanic practitioner, Reiki healings,
Reiki,
so many
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So, which I think is super cool that you have kind of figured out like who a little bit on more who you are and what you're into, and it's not taking you quite as long as some of us. So I think that's very cool.
Yeah, the way I think of it is the reason some people it takes them like until they're like 50, 60, sometimes even older than that is there's
Mhm.
other, not to get philosophical about it or religious, but I feel like there are other things they have to learn first.
Yeah.
And for them specifically to have those building blocks. Like I was just a weird child. I was born with a heart defect.
Okay.
And I was told by a reader that I had actually died.
Really?
There's no medical history of that, but I
Okay.
was told by a reader that during my heart surgery, I had kind of teetered on crossing over.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry. I had teetered on crossing over. And so that kind of like shifted my consciousness a little bit. I don't know. But
Okay.
so like maybe that's why it was easier for me as a kid. I don't know. But like I do think that most people are psychic to some degree or another. I do believe
Yeah.
that it's kind of like our birthright as spirits in a body to have these senses. And it's kind of like I liken it a lot to like musical talent. Most people, even if you're tone deaf, you can kind of recognize a pattern in sound, a pattern in
Right.
music. And like even if you can't sing, I can't play an instrument, but I can recognize a beat, and I think most people can recognize psychic beats. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of how I think of psychism,
I
if that
like
makes
that.
sense.
I
Yeah.
never put it in that type of perspective. I like that analogy. That's interesting.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's very cool. So when you got the paranormal, when I say paranormal, I mean a
Yeah.
broad range of
Yeah.
things here. So let's just talk about when I met you. So I met you, I don't know, a couple years ago. And
Mhm.
it was through, I believe, Carla, through Nippet, that team, all them. I don't remember exactly if I met you before the time I went to that Grable. Do they still have the Grable shop?
Yeah, yeah, they're
Okay.
still open. Catalpatry shop, I think they're still open. I
Okay.
just haven't been in a few years because of COVID and all that. But yeah.
Yeah. So I remember I actually went to one of those that you were at, and you actually did a no touch healing, a Reiki healing
Mhm.
on me. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that. Yeah, Catalpatry shop. That's what it
Yeah.
is. Jeremy knows he's from the area. So I remember, I think we've met before that, but I remember meeting you. I just really, I really enjoyed your energy and stuff.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, you are very genuine. I love that. And that was a fun time with you and the other people that were there and their
Oh
talents and what
yeah.
they had to offer.
Yeah, the
And
Reiki shares, those were really fun. Those
yeah,
were fun days. Yeah.
yeah. Do you still do Reiki?
I still do Reiki. I stopped doing like in-person sessions because of COVID and all that.
Mhm.
I do distance Reiki,
Okay.
where like it's basically multi-dimensional Reiki. It's kind of like how you would read somebody, and you kind of like you can send Reiki from anywhere. So I do distance Reiki still. Yeah.
Okay. Do you usually do that on video or do you just do it by phone or how do you do that?
I can do it either way, but sometimes I'll just sit in meditation and do it.
Okay.
So, and then when I'm done, any information that I get, I'll like text or email or
Yeah. That's very cool. Is there a way for like if anybody's interested in your services? I don't know. Do you charge for any of that?
I have before. I haven't really been doing it as a service for a
Okay.
while.
Okay.
Um, but if they're interested, they can just like I'm on Instagram. They can
Okay.
message me there.
Okay.
Joe in the Bear Cave. I might send you my link to my Instagram, and but they can
Okay.
private message me there.
Okay. Yeah,
I'd
I can
rather them
add that link to the description.
Okay. I'd rather them do it there than on Facebook because Facebook's kind of like private. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, there you guys go. If you're interested in something like that, we'll put a link down in the description for you, and you can reach out to Joe. Another thing, oh yeah, this is. I'm just going to throw this out here before I go to the next thing. Jeremy York is throwing a Perry Unity in Peru, Indiana. If you're
Oh, wow.
interested, I will be there. It's the 4th year they've done it, I believe. I think it's $25 for a booth, but just if something you want to consider um, as a vendor. I don't know how many. I don't know if we'll have any Reiki people there yet. I don't know. I'm not on the committee. I just am there. So that might be something to consider because it's not very far from you,
Okay.
I assume. So
Yeah.
Peru's pretty close. Yep, Corey and Jeremy, I think are kind of working together. Corey's team is actually the host this year, and it's October 22nd. So you know.
Okay.
What did I just do? 25 for our first table, 5 for each table afterwards. No, we do not have any yet. So there's no Reiki. If that's something you wanna show, you could take your Bear Cave stuff and
Yeah.
sell those.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, guys, that are commenting. Yeah, Joe is very near us. Jeremy and Corey and me, we're all in the same general area of the States. And so yeah,
Yeah. I'm
it's
in the
definitely
Fort
a
Wayne
fun event.
area. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely cool. Speaking of Bear Cave soaps, there is a link in the description to his Etsy store. And I'm curious about your soaps. So
Okay.
I know nothing about soap making, but yours seems to be very specific. I don't know do you use like natural elements? Kind of like I don't know how soap's made. How is soap made? Because I'm curious.
Soap is a 3 ingredient process. You need some sort of either fat or glycerin, and then you
Okay.
need lye, and then you need water. The water acts as an emulsion to blend the oil and the lye together, and then that makes soap. It
Right.
saponifies and hardens.
But yours
But
is very artistic. Yours
yeah,
looks different. Yours smells different. Like, how do you create that unique product?
um, I don't. It's just kind of something I do. I don't know. I usually, when it comes to a soap, I'll either get a name or a scent first, and then I'll kind of like fill in the gaps and kind of think about the rest. But I try to use natural ingredients. There are
Okay.
some fragrances that are not natural. Anything
Yeah.
that smells like food is probably not natural.
Yeah.
Um, but there's a lot of like really beautiful, like artificial fragrances out there that are just like really like magically powerful.
Yeah.
So I just I don't really know how I come up with stuff. Like I'm working on a soap now, or I'm going to work on one this weekend, called Horse Feathers, and it was the name
Okay.
that came to me first. And I made these little feathers made out of soap that I'm going to put on top of the bar.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm going to do that as an essential oil blend of lavender and cypress.
Okay.
So I I don't know, like it just like they kind of fall together in pieces for me. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I get the name first or the design or the fragrance. I have a fortune telling soap right now called Oracle's Guidance. They each come with like I can get a bar If
Oh
you
yeah,
give
if
me
you
a
want to
second.
show everyone,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll
Well,
do
one
it.
looks like let's do that. So Greg, it's October 22nd in Peru, Indiana is going to be the Para Unity. I will be, if you're following my page, Unveil Paranormal, I will be posting about it quite a bit in the next couple months because it's a really cool event with really cool people, very local people, and it's just great. You totally should come. All right, so what you got for us?
Okay, this is my Oracle's Guidance soap. And there's a like a plastic sphere on top that opens up and it has a fortune inside. And
Oh,
each bar pardon me, my asthma is really bad tonight, but each bar comes with a different fortune that I've written myself. I sat
okay.
in sort of a meditative state and just like let it come through like I would with a reading.
Uh-huh.
And then so they're each of them are different, and then I pick them at random so that you get. I say a little prayer so that whoever orders it gets the one that they need. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, I love that. So it's really custom in a way. I
Mm-hmm.
know that like your page has like specific soaps. Do you ever take custom orders?
I do, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's very
and I'll
cool.
work with you on like the fragrance and the design, and if you. A lot of my soaps are coconut oil heavy, and a lot of people don't
Okay.
like coconut oil or they can't have coconut oil.
Okay.
Or they're allergic, so we can like work through particular replacements and stuff like that. Sorry, I keep looking off screen. That's kind of how I fight
That's how you
anxiety.
think. It's
Yeah,
fine. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Jeremy wants a buffalo one, I think. Like buffalo the food, like the flavor? I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, so I don't know, I guess could somebody be like, "Hey Joe, I love you what you're doing. Could you just come up with a fragrance that just screams Clarissa?" You know what I mean? Like, is that how it goes, or do you say, "Oh, I like lavenders. I like this, I like that," you know? So,
We could probably do both, and just kind of like
really.
maybe like meditate on it and kind of like what like your energy would feel like to me. I think for you, I would go maybe like Mei Chang or something like a lemon balm.
Okay.
Lemon balm essential oil is crazy expensive,
Oh
but
no.
something very like sweet and a little bit citrusy, maybe a little bit vanilla-y, but not like a French vanilla, but like maybe I just got an essential oil actually that would be actually really nice. It's called
Really?
Homewood. And
Okay.
a it's a little bit anise like and a little bit like lavendery. It's really nice. That would
Oh,
be a nice one. It's unisex but almost a little bit cologne at the same
okay.
time. Yeah.
That's cool. That's
And
cool.
then
So that would be my scent and my
yeah.
style. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Hey, Deb, thanks for joining. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, so we might have to get together on that sometime because that would be really cool to have. Like I'm really cheap about soap. I never buy a specialized soap. I always just go to the store and get the bottled stuff, you know. But for you, I totally support you because I know
Oh,
you're so talented. Totally. Um, so that's enough about soap, guys. Down in the description is his Etsy store. Let's talk about your what was next on the list? Hedge witch.
yes.
Please explain for those of us that don't know what a hedge witch is, what a hedge witch is.
Okay. A hedge witch. Well, first of all, it's a Scottish English term. It was mostly used in Scotland, but a hedge witch is a basically a shamanic witch. It someone,
Okay.
it's a witch who can, the hedge in question, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. The hedge in
Okay.
question is the veil between the worlds. And a hedge witch is someone who can traverse that wall, go through that wall to bring back information, connect to spirits, that kind of thing. And it's done through the avenue of witchcraft. A lot of traditional hedge witchcraft uses like entheogens and like hallucinogens and things like that. I don't do that. I'm a scaredy cat. I don't do anything like that. But I do a lot of journey work. I do a lot of spirit work. Um, and you know, that to me is what a hedge witch is like a shamanic witch. Yeah.
Okay. So the hedge witch and the shamanic practitioner that you do, they kind of go hand in hand then. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How does one know? Is it just, it's just a matter of, are you drawn to it or not drawn to it? Like, how does one know that they have anything to do with paganism or anything like that? It's just a matter of being drawn to it.
Yeah, having an interest in it, I think it's okay to dabble. I think
Mhm.
there's a really big like what's the word? Like bias against people who dabble and kind of move in and out of it, or they're
Yeah.
like, you know, well, I was Wiccan as a teenager, but now I'm Catholic, right? Like I think there's like a
Yeah.
there is a bias against that, but I think it's okay to explore spiritually and learn about different things. And if you're meant to be pagan, a witch, you know, heathen, etc., you will stay there. You will find
Right.
a home there. But
Okay.
or at least that's how I think of it. So if you're drawn to paganism, I would recommend reading a lot. I would recommend you know, exploring different paths and just kind of like trying to find what resonates with you. I think there's like a there I went through this a lot too, where I felt like I needed to find, you know, my path, my thing. I need to find it now. It needs to be mapped out for me. And the
Right.
problem is that you're not going to do that. There's no map, there's no pre-existing map for you. Even if you
Right.
convert to a pre-existing religion, you still have a personal path even within that religion, if that makes sense.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. I mean, it's not set up for like everybody to follow those
Yeah.
straightforward guidelines, paths, whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the middle of all that spiritual journey type bit. You know what I mean? I am hugely, even though I'm not like a super outdoorsy person, I'm hugely drawn to like nature and natural elements. And so that's why I've thought about like, you know, the idea of paganism, stuff like that. And but I've also really drawn to Native American things too at the same time. So I'm like, I'm in the middle of that little journey right now, trying to figure out because for me to be like as a spiritual, I consider myself a spiritual person. I didn't grow up religious. We didn't have really guidance in that when I was growing up. I just really have always felt like natural elements is where I need to focus, and that my guides, my universe, my whatever is more of a natural thing than
Like animism. Yeah.
like what?
Animism.
Animism. What's animism? I've never heard that
Animism
one.
is everything is alive, everything is sacred. Like if you've seen, like, this is a
Right.
very rudimentary understanding, but like you ever seen Pocahontas?
Yes.
So every rock, tree, and creature has a life, a spirit, and a name, right?
Yes. That's
That's
how I
animism.
feel.
That's what animism is. And I think a lot of people who are drawn to, like, most pagans I know are animists. A lot. A lot of native practices are not really like open, I guess. So I don't really know a whole lot about a lot of native stuff. But
Yeah.
like there is a lot of animism in Native American practices as well. So like
Okay.
what I hear is that sort of like um when I hear you talk about your feelings is I hear animism. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to like research this now. That's
Okay.
I like I just I look to just natural everything for advice for when I go outside. Like a bird is not just a bird. A bird is there
Right.
for a reason. Like, it's so weird. And so I just, I'm torn. Like I said, I was like, well, maybe it's Native American or maybe it's paganism. What am I really drawn to? So animism. Oh my gosh, I'll have to look into that. That's so
Okay.
cool. I'm glad we talked about it.
Yeah.
Very cool. And Corey said he's learning stuff tonight, which I love. I love when
Aw.
we can teach people stuff, in the show, because there's so much more than just paranormal ghost hunting, the same
Yeah.
old, same old. So I love that. I have several Native American guides. Do you? Very cool, Charles. Very cool. I do love that, Jeremy's. Jeremy, go sing for us.
Yeah.
So I've seen Pocahontas years and years ago. I couldn't even tell you what
Yeah.
everything is about, but yeah, that's definitely kind of the mindset I've had on it. Um, so what was I gonna ask? I hate when I space like that.
Oh, I do
Oh,
that all the time.
Jeremy will sing for us probably after he heals. um, so the other huge part of who you are is a medium,
Yep.
and I absolutely relate to this because obviously I think I'm a medium. I'm pretty sure I'm a
Yeah,
medium.
you're a medium. You're a medium. Yeah.
So I provide those services too. But is that something that you have been practicing as of lately? Have you been giving people readings or connecting people with loved ones?
Um, like I said earlier, life has kind of been life, and
Mm-hmm.
so I've been sorry, just trying to get adjusted.
That's okay.
I've been working a lot with family and healing some family stuff and personally, but I do that occasionally for people
There.
where I will maybe try to contact people who've passed away. I don't really offer it as a service,
Okay.
but I can do that, and I do if I can I will. I'll say it like that. Yeah.
Okay. And I know with mediumship, we had talked earlier about, I had asked you about if you do much investigation. You said, no, not really. But you have offered cleansings, which is cool.
Mhm.
Um, but as a medium, have you encountered anything really scary or just typical people or,
Um. Well, one of the first things I ever experienced when I was about 9 years old.
ooh, young. Okay.
We were living in this house about 2 years. We had just moved in, and my mom had some friends over. And so I would sleep in my sister's room. They shared a room at the top of the stairs. And I would sleep on the floor. I liked sleeping. I slept on the floor for years. It was more comfortable for me. But I would
Oh,
sleep
okay.
on the floor, and we had the door open. And I roll over, and I see this man, jet black, made out of shadow, walk across the
Okay.
door frame, and he stopped. And I am petrified. And in
Oh,
my mind, I'm like, please don't come in here. Please don't come in here. And he turns and looks at me and turns and walks down the hallway. I wait for about a second, get up, close the door, put something in front of it. I have no idea how I fell asleep that night.
yeah.
But I wake up and I go down. I wake up in the morning and I talk to my mom. I'm like, Mom, who was upstairs? who was that man upstairs? She says, there's no one upstairs. And like, I'm like, yeah, there's a man upstairs. I saw him in the doorway. And she said, no, we didn't allow anybody upstairs. But years later, a few years later, my little sister had a dream about that man walking up and down our street, because we lived on a cul-de-sac, and she said she had this dream of him walking up and down and just like surveying the land. So that was probably the first really spooky experience I had. I've had a lot of really positive experiences.
Yeah.
Particularly like relatives. My grandfather comes through quite a bit. But that's like one of the more spooky experiences I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been as scary if you were 9, if you were older, or did the energy just felt off?
It felt, I don't know if it felt off, but it felt unsettled.
Okay.
It felt like invasive.
Okay.
So like he's just coming in to look at your house, right? Like that's what it
Right.
felt like. Yeah.
Oh
And that
my God.
area is a really old area. So like it used to be all farmland, and then in the 60s they built a bunch of like additions. It's over in the Georgetown area.
Okay, yeah. I know that area.
So, yeah. So like yeah, that whole area is it's just peppered with stuff. But
yeah.
There's a lot of nice things there too. But like, you know, it's got, there's stuff everywhere, but there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned over probably the past 2 years, because over the past 2 years, once I went to my first para-unity in Peru, I met a lot of local people. Mm-hmm. So I've learned more about what locally is haunted, as opposed to just having knowledge about the big haunted locations that you book. So I've learned a lot in Georgetown, out on Minnick area, New Haven area, like further east, I guess. It just seems like there's a lot going on that way.
Yeah.
So
especially I don't know what's up. I said, especially in New Haven. I don't know what's up with New Haven.
It's just New Haven. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know either. I don't know what the stories are. I don't know. It's just, I didn't grow up there in that city. So if anybody's curious, the city we're talking about is Fort Wayne. It's very localized near all of us. Yeah. So that's why we're discussing it.
Do you know about the phantom cannon blasts in Fort Wayne?
The phantom cannon blast?
Every summer that people will call the cops and like, I'm hearing these explosions and they sound like cannons, and no one can find out where these are coming from. And it's been going on since like the 80s or 70s.
Really?
I used to hear them over, because I lived, like I said, I lived in Georgetown. I lived over by, I'm really bad with road names. I lived in Lake Forest, and it was more near like, more toward like the river back there toward New Haven. And I would even hear these like big cannon blasts during the summer, and we just thought it was fireworks, but like nobody was setting off fireworks.
Really? Mm-hmm. Do you think, well, I don't know. I mean, I know a little bit of history about Fort Wayne, but I don't know how, like, I know they have the fort there and stuff, but is that actually where the fort was? Or
no, the fort,
it was moved, or
I think it was moved.
Okay.
But like there are so many battles that have been fought in Indiana specifically. Mm-hmm. It's like if Gettysburg was a state. It really is. Because we have the War of 1812, the French and Indian Wars, the Civil War. We have so many different, Native American battles. Yeah. There was a Native American battle fought over by Lindenwood.
Okay.
and like
Lindenwood Cemetery.
Lindenwood Cemetery, somewhere
Okay.
around that area, there was a Miami battle um, around the time of the French and Indian Wars. But
Wow.
there's so much stuff that's just unmarked. Like we don't know where it
Right.
happened. Yeah.
Right.
But
Like,
so we don't like I wouldn't doubt if these, cannons are like stuff that's still happening, astrally.
right.
Yeah.
That's what I wondered. Like, if it's like residual, is it happening a certain time of year? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On Clay Street. I don't know where Clay Street is. Is that downtown? It might be downtown. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, Fort Wayne is probably fairly haunted.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not only does it have the old history, it's right there by all the water, the different water, rivers, stuff like that. You have newer history. You have the dangers of living in Fort Wayne. Not saying it's completely great, but it's not completely bad either. It's just kind of has its moments,
It
you
could
know.
be better. Yeah.
So you accrue, that trauma and history in it, and it causes, I think trauma and history, like trauma specifically, can cause so much
Oh yeah.
energy disruptions that's where we get a lot of our hauntings, and that's why a lot of the hauntings seem so negative, because it's from like trauma that we are
It's almost like the energy's in pain.
right.
And so that's why it feels really scary and unsettled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Jeremy. I kind of know where that's at. So, and I know like there's some haunted locations. Like now they have the Bell, and then they used to have the Pfeiffer House, something like that was available to investigate. Downtown Fort Wayne. I wish kind of there was more locations in Fort Wayne to investigate.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's kind of cool. But I know there's also urban stories too up there.
Yeah.
Me and Jeremy was
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, me and Jeremy was supposed to go down some road near New Haven. I don't know what the urban history was. And you're supposed to like catch a person or something like that. And I don't
know
remember
what you're talking about too.
Yeah,
There's some road in New Haven that's supposed to go for like ever. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something that we were supposed to do, but we didn't get a chance to do up there. So there's some urban stories up there. So yeah.
Yeah, I live over off of Lima, and we have the old Byron Health Center.
I've heard about the Byron Health Center. Yeah.
Over at the fairgrounds. Like that's like, really excuse me, that was like an orphanage, and there's like it's got such an interesting history. Or there was an orphanage not in the center itself, but like over at the YSC, the youth center, there was an orphanage there. That's just like right across the road.
Okay.
Yeah. My sister spent time there, and she said it was not scary, but it felt again like unsettled.
Unsettled. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think the Byron Health Center is one of them I heard about. That it's not. They don't. Is that one still open to like you use it, or is it?
I think they use it for something. They were supposed to tear it down a few years ago, but they never did. Because they were going to build a Target there.
Of course.
It's like the most ridiculous thing. It's like, really? Across from the orphanage? Like, do we really need that? But, like, yeah.
Dude, does Fort Wayne need another Target?
No, we don't need another Target.
Oh, my goodness. I'm glad there's stores up there because where I'm from we have Walmart. That's it. Yeah. So I'm glad I'm about 30 minutes away from all that. So, but I don't think it needs more Targets or shopping centers but there's a lot of people who live up there. So
yeah,
very cool. So I have to ask, well, I don't have to ask. I'm just curious if you get. Can I ask you to just like give me any vibes you get from my house or me or something? Can I
Um, you picked something up during an investigation.
Oh no, don't say that.
It feels young, though.
Do
It
you
feels
know,
almost like
like,
a child. Like, where were you where it was supposed to be haunted by children?
oh my gosh, I was at Crown Point not that long ago. And, I've done some residentials lately.
Just pray and ask that their loved ones come and get them, and do that for a few nights.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you know if it's like a boy, a girl?
It
What do you
feels
feel?
like a boy. Do you have
A boy?
children?
I do.
He really likes your son. Do you have a son?
I do.
Okay. Your son kind of gets a little spooked, and it's because of that boy. You
Okay.
do have spirits around your property. There's a man. Is there an old barn? Where is there a
Um,
barn?
my house was one of the more original houses here.
Okay.
It went back to 1880. That's the farthest back I could go so far. I still need to do more research because they didn't have. They just said my house was built in 1900, but you can
Okay.
see my house in one of the maps at the library in 1880. So my
Oh
house is
wow.
here. So I imagine there were barns here because that's when this town started to build up.
Okay.
So yeah, my house was one of the only ones on this block. It was
Oh
actually the
wow.
only one on this block. So it doesn't look old because it's been
Yeah.
upgraded. But yeah, tell me about the man.
Well, he kind of just. I don't want to link up to him, but he kind of. I feel him on the property around the houses. There's
Okay.
like I feel like he's just kind of fuddling about. He's not going to hurt anybody. There's a
Yeah.
woman. Where's water? There's a
We're,
moving water. Where is there moving water near your house? There's a woman near the water.
there is a river about, I don't know, 7 blocks away from here,
Oh wow.
maybe.
Okay.
There is a river. I mean, this area does flood quite a bit too.
Okay. Well,
So
there's you have a lot of activity. It doesn't feel negative. It just kind of feels like again, just that kind of unsettled, like not quite comfortable feeling. But
okay.
just like pray and he'll cross.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have lots of stories about my house. I mean, I could just go on about, but it's, I'm just always curious when I talk to people who are sensitive to stuff, what they pick
Mhm.
up on, because it's a variety of spirit, I feel.
Yeah,
Um, and some of them I feel stay around, and some of them I feel come and go,
yeah.
you know? So, we do have
I
somebody that, yeah,
I do think a part of it is, and I don't mean to scare you. I think a part of it is you. It's you have that light, and so it's like moths to a flame. It's like, oh,
right.
there's Clarissa. Let's go see
Yeah.
what she's up to. It's that
Yeah.
kind of thing, and that usually happens a lot with mediums. It's like no matter where you go,
Mm-hmm.
it's somebody's coming to bug you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have in my house, we have a mimicker
Oh.
that when I go on vacation or like my brother stayed here and they like would talk, they mimic the dog barking, they mimic my kids talking, they mimic me talking. That's kind of been maybe the most unsettling haunting I've had in
Yeah.
this house because I don't know why, but I feel like it's just been here since the beginning, since I moved. I moved here almost 8 years ago, and it's just always been a thing where like I think I hear my dog barking. I go out in the living room and he's sleeping, you know?
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that's probably been the scariest thing. My kids have reported things to me in the house too. So it's on the to-do list to investigate my house with like a team, not me,
Yeah.
because I don't know. It might be more interesting if I wasn't even here because
Yeah.
the reports I get from other people are like when I'm gone. It's like it comes out when I'm gone. Like everything gets crazy, but when I'm here, it settles down.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, yeah. So I just it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to ask. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
I just love getting a little bit of input. So
Mhm.
um oh my gosh, I have so many questions going through my head right now. I'm like, I could talk about the shamanic practicing, the Reiki, all that stuff. Like, that's one question I have. How do you know that you're a healer? Because that's also something I've thought about doing. How do you know that you're a healer?
I don't know.
Do you just
Honestly, I don't know
feel
how you would. Again, I think it's sort of that like being drawn to it, and there are so many different ways to be a healer. Being a medium is a healer, right? You're
okay?
helping the dead, you're helping, the grieving.
True.
So, like, there are so many different ways to be a healer. And, like, I think we all have the potential to heal our bodies and heal our minds through,
Uh-huh.
energy. But,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I really don't know what, like, stamps someone, bam, you're a healer. I don't,
Right.
I don't really know. I think it's more the love and devotion of healing, the love and devotion you have for healing, and sort of like your willingness to like pour your all into it. Like that, I think would make somebody a healer.
Gotcha. So when you're doing your healings, are you like do you consume their pain or do you just kind of pull it out and release it? Like,
I pull it out and release it because like the other way around can be really kind of energetically not good or not
right,
safe.
right,
And I have done that before where I've pulled out other people's like aches and pains and sicknesses and kind of pulled it into myself. It's like, why do I have the flu now? Oh, because, but yeah, the how I do it is I call in my guides, and I like if I'm pulling something out, I will give it to them to give to the earth.
okay,
Or I have a psychic, I don't know what to call it, like a spiritual mechanism where I
okay,
will imagine like funnels of water, like tornadoes of water on either side of me, and they're going down into the earth and going into moving water. And so when I'm pulling stuff out, I will just kind of run my hands through that funnel of water, and it will pull that energy into the earth and neutralize it. So I do
really,
stuff like that. And so that's like a shamanic technology that one
okay,
of my guides gave me. And you can
okay,
even do that to cleanse your own energy, like see like a tornado of water coming up from the earth and enveloping you, and it's pulling all that energetic debris, all of that unwanted energy, blockages, etc. It's pulling that down into the earth and it's cleansing you. You can use that for yourself.
okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. So like I ask is like empathic people. I have a lot of people that are empathic that watch the show. They have a tendency to just it's not that they're trying to heal people, but it seems like they have a tendency to just like take in other
Yeah.
people's pains and stuff. I'm
That's
guilty of it
really
too.
that's really hard. A lot of people who call themselves empaths,
Mm-hmm.
they're clairsentient.
Okay.
They're clear. It means clear feeling. So you're feeling other people's stuff, and it can be really overwhelming because it's hard
Right.
to figure out where do you begin, where does this begin, because it
Right.
can kind of blur. What helps me is routine cleansing of my own energy. So salt baths are like a plus for that. Pink Himalayan salt is really good for pulling out other people's emotions and emotional gunk.
Okay.
Also working with shielding practices, shielding every day. Every time you leave the house, every time you go to bed, shield. Because if you are a sensitive person, you need extra strong protection.
Right.
Um, learning a shielding technique. Um, I work a lot with stones and minerals. That's one of my favorite forms of magic is working with stones. Stone
Okay.
spirits are really easy to connect to. Um,
Okay.
Stones like jet, amber, obsidian, all of the obsidians are really good for empathic people. Malachite, tiger eye, um, amethyst is really good for protection. Clear petalite and purpurite are really good for protection. So those are stones that I would recommend to an empathic person who needs to
Right.
set up barriers. Um, Working with black tourmaline to cleanse would be really good. Working with selenite to cleanse would be really good. There's a lot of different, you can also like follow your own intuition. If you feel
Right.
really drawn to something, but there's no like, it says it's for love, but I feel it's for cleansing, then follow that cleansing because there's a particular kind of cleansing that it's going to do for you that
Right.
might not
Right.
be listed in a book somewhere. So, like, anyway, that's what I would recommend for empathic people is
Yeah.
really taking care of your energy because if you let it control you, you're not going to have a life. You're going to be stuck in your house because you're afraid to pick up somebody else's stuff. And I've been there, and that's not
Yeah.
a fun place to be.
Right.
So like tending to your energy, to your protection, building better relationships with your guides, like even like talking to them every day, saying a prayer, hey, protect me from all of the stuff. I don't
Yeah.
want any of the stuff. Protect me from all of that. So like
Yeah.
doing that every day and building that practice, that can really help.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, you have so much information when it comes
Oh,
to that. I love it
right.
so much. Like I'm glad you shared all that because I know that we have a lot of people that ask about how do I protect myself? How do I protect myself? And
Mhm.
a lot of people do consider them an empath, but it's just very interesting to me. And I like that you shared all those crystals and rocks and stuff. I'm really drawn to that stuff too. I've actually thought about setting up something with like ones that are good for protection, like at my bedside and stuff, because I'm very vulnerable when I sleep. That's when I have probably the most spiritual moments ever in
Oh,
my
wow.
like ever is when I'm sleeping. It just explodes and I can control my dreams. I can interact in my
Oh,
dreams. And
wow.
my the way when I wake up, I remember dreams very vividly. So
That's
it's
cool. Yeah.
and so I just think it would be really cool, to know what kind of things I can use to help block some of
Um,
that while I sleep.
Obsidian, like black obsidian, like a big piece of black obsidian,
Yeah.
amethyst, like a big amethyst cluster, and lepidolite. Lepidolite is really good for sleep and sleep protection.
Okay.
Lepidolite is also really good for children.
Okay.
Hematite is really good for children. Like little boys love hematite. There's
Okay.
something about little boy spirits and
Yeah.
hematite that just like mesh. But
Okay.
those are
Okay.
really good. Yeah, obsidian would be a really good protector.
Okay.
You know.
Awesome. Oh, well, this is like so much information, and I love it. We could just talk like your knowledge level is amazing. I love it, and I'm
Oh,
so
thank
glad.
you.
And I see here from the comment section that everybody's really enjoyed having you on the show tonight, Joe. So we
Oh,
really
thanks.
appreciate it. So with that said, everybody, we are at our hour mark. So I am going to go ahead and end the stream now. If you do want to reach out to Joe, you're more than welcome to. I will add the link to his Instagram later on into the description. Always show your support with him through his Bear Caves soaps. Very cool that he does this, and very cool that it is a very unique technique and very artistic. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And then, as always, if you are interested in following Unveil Paranormal, feel free to go follow my page. My links are also in the description. The merch, it's not merch, but I'm trying to do an Etsy store, Joe.
Oh, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
it can be a little bit of a pain, but it's
Yeah. I'm creative in my mind, but I can't physically draw or do it. Like I
Are
just
you
can't.
an Aquarius?
I am an Aquarius.
That's an Aquarius trait. Like, I'm creative, but how do I create? My
Right.
sister's like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can come up with so many ideas, but I'm like, I can't draw.
Yeah.
I can't make it
You have
tangible.
to. Here's the thing. You have to be not afraid to fail, and you have
Yeah.
to just have fun with it, and that
Okay.
usually will help Aquarius people be more creative.
Okay. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely an Aquarius. Best sign ever. Just saying. You're like, an Aquarius would say that.
That's funny.
All right, everybody. With that said, thank you so much, Joe, for being on tonight's show.
Absolutely, it was fun. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love it. I'm so thankful, and I appreciate it. Everybody, go follow Joe. Go message Joe. Go show your love. Buy his soap. We appreciate it. Everybody, have a good night.
All right.
Bye.